Hello, and welcome to the Flatpacked podcast. I'm Wesley James.
And I'm Kevin Deers.
Together, we explore the world of renovations and how flat-packed furniture giants IKEA have revolutionized the remodeling industry.
Let's get started.
Welcome to episode 6 of the Flatpacked podcast. We're here in Pasadena, California, with the folks of Modern Twig and Swedebox. Unfortunately, because of me being here in Los Angeles and not having an internet connection here, we're sans co-host Kevin Deers. Miss you, Kevin. But here we are. We're having fun. I would love to introduce these rock stars. This is Jesse. This is Ivan. To give you some background, as Brave Element, I'm down here building a showroom with them in Pasadena, if you can see any of this. And my history with Modern Twig and Swedebox is obviously I'm a cabinet installer. And, well, I don't want to tell your story. I don't want to do too much of an introduction. I'm so stoked to be here. You guys know that. I feel so grateful to be part of this. And there's so much that I want to cover with you. So forgive me for if I jump all over the place. But let's start with why I'm here, why we're here, what brought us to this point, and then maybe we'll do some jumping around and talk about some origin stories. But Let's talk about Pasadena first.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm from LA, born and raised, and Pasadena is just it's a historic town. You know, there's so much here, so much shopping, great food. It is a tourist destination when you come to California, Los Angeles specifically, but we couldn't have picked a better spot, honestly. I mean, we've been searching, and we just felt this is really one of those hub cities. It's 30 minutes from everywhere, you know, from the ocean, from downtown, from the valley. And so it's just a great spot for our clients and our future clients to come, explore our materials. And, we couldn't be more happy to be here.
Yeah, it's our first showroom. And, you know, Modern Twig is sort of, we slow rolled it, right? We're 4 years in. Okay. We've been basically focusing on our manufacturing, our quality, our client list, our basically, service. You know, exactly. Trying to do it right because we'll get into it. We're going to jump around. We're trying to do it right from soup to nuts. And you know, we were looking at all the wrong places for a showroom, and we found one in Old Town, Pasadena.
I was going to say, this is Old Town Pasadena. It is really incredible here.
Yeah, I mean, the alleys are named, you know, and you have to find us, which is, I think, cool.
It is.
You know?
Yeah.
And basically, you know, we said we found it. We showed you last time you were down here, and then you called up and you're like, "Yo, obviously I'm gonna install this, right?" And we're like, "Well, 100%." And so we made that work because basically there's no one better, and there's no one else we'd like to have do it.
Sure.
You know, and we're happy with everything so far.
We need that Brave Element flair, you know.
I agree with you.
We need that.
You know, as someone who is from Southern California, we've had this conversation that. I grew up kind of hating Los Angeles, and I think I just had different experiences, right?
Dude, I'm from Boston. I know about hating LA.
and since in the past few years coming down here, being flown down for work, and I think it was 2-3 years ago when I did that other job in Eagle Rock, and I met you guys in person. Since then, I've kind of just been like, you know, this is a different kind of LA than I'm used to. Probably just because I'm an adult now. I don't know. And I'm here for work, not for going to punk shows. But there is something so magical about this exact neighborhood. I've been staying here this whole time while working here and building. And I was telling someone earlier this morning, like, this is the first time that I've traveled for work where in the first 3 days, I'm not like, I got to go home.
Yeah.
I'm actually like really enjoying my time here. And maybe I'm just romanticizing it or whatever, but I got to feel like that's a very long way of saying, I think this is the perfect location.
Yeah, we're happy.
For a showroom. It's a great size. I mean, what is this? I mean, 1,000 square feet.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yep.
Not too big, not too small, showing off the products. And so maybe this is kind of putting you on the spot, but like, have you guys talked about a potential grand opening date?
You know, we want to get this right.
Yep.
You know, you only get to open once. And so we want to make sure all the details are ironed out. You know, we're ready with samples, with swag bags, with T-shirts, you know. So we're going to open this year, but we want to get it right. So once we know the exact date, we'll put it out there, right?
Yeah, I think you could probably think of it as multiple soft openings and then a grand opening.
Certainly, yeah.
Correct.
That's what we're doing in my showroom as well, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of work out any sort of kinks, have some private tours, you know, and figure out what you want to change.
Yeah.
You know what I think we should do for the grand opening party is get a tattoo artist in here to give out free Modern Twig tattoos.
Everyone's going to want one. I mean, the demand.
Everybody. I need it on the face, though, just like you. Like, I need that.
I'm saving this spot.
Yeah. Okay.
The modern tier.
The modern tier.
I love it. Yeah, the modern tier. Also, one of the cool things about this location, we'll move on from location, but
sure.
One of the great things about this is Intelligentsia is down the alley.
Humble plug.
Yeah, but there's so many awesome things, and what I envision is great for a showroom is you can kind of plan your day around. Hey, we're gonna go look at some door samples, some countertop samples. Check out the Swede box cabinets. While we're there, we may as well hit up the countless amounts of coffee shops, restaurants, bars.
Not just that. I mean, Container Store is literally on the same block.
That's right.
Restoration Hardware is down the street.
Right.
You got, everything.
Yeah.
Really.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's a great location. We're super psyched.
One of the things I think there's many reasons why we all get along so well. I think one of the things that brought us together so quickly is we're all from the IKEA world one way or another. And as you guys know, I mean, my experience is almost strictly installation. You used to work at the store?
Yeah. Interestingly enough, IKEA started as just a job to get me through college.
Yep.
And eventually, so I'm an interior designer, and working at IKEA's kitchen department was really just kind of like a pastime, get a paycheck kind of deal. But I just love the whole product and just the process and just how simple it is to relay this information to a client, and design a beautiful space. So I started at IKEA, working as a kitchen designer there for a few years. And I would see this guy come in once in a while,
Mm-hmm.
ordering some product. And, that's kind of how we first met, right?
Yep.
But was at IKEA for a few years, decided to kind of branch out, start my own little design studio. And after college, I really wanted to focus on residential design, kitchens, bathrooms, closets. And I just know, I know the system so well.
Yep.
I know the nuances behind it, the custom aspects of being able to design with it. So yeah, for a few years, I had my own design studio, designing kitchens and closets and bathrooms for people across the country. And, working with him specifically because, as we all know, he's a pioneer in this custom door for IKEA world. So
Sure. Yeah, so that would bring us to your story.
My story.
As someone who knows you very well, I feel like I could tell your story very well, but I'd much rather hear it from you.
Yeah. My story, it all begins in a small town. No. So, as many know, so Semi Handmade was started by John McDonald and me. But what happened was we were sharing a shop. I had a concrete business before then, and I met John at a trade show. And what I mean by concrete, I did precast concrete, like countertop sculpture,
Sure.
fire pits, etc. And he asked, "Hey, can you make me a countertop?" I'm like, "Yeah." So I did, and we hit it off. We became pretty good friends, and ultimately I moved into his shop. We shared the shop. I helped him with his jobs. He helped me with mine.
Yep.
He's great at getting jobs.
Yep.
I am really good at fulfilling those jobs, completing projects, and being efficient. And my previous background was as a finished carpenter. I did about 10 years of installs like you,
Yep.
kitchens and bathrooms in Boston. So we quickly became his machine. It was called Handmade at the time. And then while we were doing that, there was an architect, Barbara Bester. She suggested this laundry be done with IKEA cabinets and put MDF doors on it, painted.
Sure.
And then some photographer at a Dwell magazine show said, hey, you should just do that. And then John was like, yeah, that's a really good idea.
Yeah.
Right? And then I think this woman, Faith Duran, did a kitchen, and it kind of caught fire, went viral, as they say, right? And so semi-handmade became much bigger than handmade, the custom cabinet job. And to his credit, John just flew into it, and I made it happen. I was cutting all the jobs, and he was doing all the sales. And so, as you guys know, that blew up.
Yeah.
You know, fast forward a decade, and basically, we got to a point where we had to split. We had different philosophical differences.
Sure.
And he wanted to become bigger and bigger and bigger and be a broker, that's great. He wanted to do that. He didn't want to produce anything. And I love making stuff. I just love making stuff.
Yes.
And I love putting my eyes on the product. I love seeing what we make and shipping it out. So we came to an agreement. I would start a company and create product. He could sell it.
Yep.
So we make walnut veneer. We make Riff white oak. We make the doors. They can sell it. We also sell it on our own.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that's how we started. And so when what was it, 2020?
2020-ish.
And it was a B2B business.
Yeah.
And now, 2024, we're mostly B2C, as you know.
Yep.
And along the way, we created Sweetbox. Mm-hmm. And the way that started was basically during the shortages of the pandemic, people couldn't even purchase their IKEA cabinets.
Sure.
Plus the Suez Canal. Remember that? Remember when that got blocked?
Oh, yeah. Do I ever?
Yeah.
Do I ever?
So we bought a couple CNC machines, and we create cabinets that... there's a spider behind you, by the way.
Of course.
We created, boxes in different colors and flavors that mesh perfectly with the IKEA system. You can use their hardware, etc.
Yeah.
They're different. IKEA, don't sue us. They are different, but you can use the product.
Yeah, the origin story of that is pretty funny because, there were so many stock issues with IKEA, as you know, a lot of our clients know. And, we were sitting back. Our clients were calling us to hold their product because they were running into delays. And then, one day we were just like, you know what? Like, why can't we make boxes, right? And so we started doing some R&D. We bought a few IKEA boxes, the only ones that we could find. Started taking some measurements, and there's little differences that with our cabinets, which we call Sweetbox, right? And small little upgrades here and there, but the system is generally the same. Sizing, drilling patterns, pretty similar. So you can still use their hardware, you can still use their hinges, their drawer boxes. And so, as Ivan alluded to, we ended up getting 2 CNC machines. Started cracking out some boxes. Started getting clients that asking us for, hey, can you make black boxes? Yep. IKEA used to have these cool like dark brown boxes. Can you make dark brown boxes?
Yeah.
We're like, yeah, why not, right? And slowly.
I'd like to point out that I was one of those first clients.
You were.
I mean, that's really why you got excited about us, right?
Yes.
It was Sweetbox and the fact that we solved a lot of problems for you.
Yeah.
Right. And at the time, let me ask you. Let me be the interviewer, right?
Yeah.
Did you know that we were making those products for Semi-Handmade at the time? Did you know that?
That's actually how I got introduced to Sweetbox.
Oh, okay.
As someone who is literally obsessed with the work that I do, sometimes I find myself just going down this rabbit hole of websites and just kind of looking into what all of these companies are doing, and I wasn't even looking for a solution for any sort of cabinets. I was on the Semi-Handmade website and I think at a certain point, someone had asked me, someone who was consulting for Semi-Handmade on their website, asked me, hey, can you spend a little bit of time? We're trying to make some improvements. And since you're a big buyer from them, could you spend some time going through the website and just kind of seeing what you would improve? Mm-hmm. I think it was around that time. I could be wrong. But anyhow, I do remember just going through their website, like going every single little tab and everything. And somewhere I found this like now offering Swede box cabinets. I'm like, what the hell is this? I haven't heard of this. And I emailed someone, I want to say like Deanna or something like that. And I was like, hey, what's this Swede box thing?
Yeah.
And she was just like, oh yeah, we just kind of partnered with this company that makes cabinet boxes for, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
Right. And so, I mean, I was just like very intrigued. So I started asking questions and found out it was you guys. And I think the very first thing I did was I had these 6 walnut, what I thought were semi-handmade drawer fronts. I mean, they were, but you know what I mean? You guys made them.
Yeah.
And they just happened to be in the wrong size, but I'm like, I'm not throwing away 6 good drawer fronts, you know? And so I was like, well,
Is this that dresser?
It
kinda?
is.
Yeah, okay,
Like
yeah.
I need to make a dresser, and I'll try out this Swede box company. And so I got the cabinets, made the dresser. It's like this huge light bulb went off in my head of like, this is the future for me. Simply because, you know, yeah, we had stock issues like everyone else during the pandemic. As the psychotic cabinet installer that I am, I found my way around it every single time. I'm the one that I was finishing jobs before IKEA was, because
It's crazy.
I'm just like very resourceful, you know what I mean? And by the time I had found you guys, I think that most of my stock issues had already been fixed. Simply because we buy direct from IKEA business, and we were kind of getting, because we do such a large volume, we were kind of getting first dibs on a lot of things. But that doesn't change the fact that I saw this light bulb go off for all of the customizations that I do.
Yeah.
And to be honest, like, just to give you an example, right? Like, on every single kitchen project, every single closet project, we're at least taking one cabinet and cutting it down to something, and we ordered the custom fronts for it and charging a very good amount for it, right? So my hourly rate's $250, and for one customization, I charge for 1 hour. So the client is paying for the cabinet box, then paying for my installation, then paying for the customization. So when you consider the slightly higher price of buying the Swede box cabinet in the correct size that I don't need to cut, I'm saving myself time, I'm saving the client money. It's the perfect solution for that.
Safer too. It's safer.
Exactly. It's much safer.
Yeah. The value proposition, I'm glad you brought that up, because that's our whole thing is we want to maintain the value proposition of the IKEA-verse, right?
Yes.
Because we love it. I mean, as I said, I did 10 years of cabinet installation.
Yep.
3rd floor walk-up, Back Bay, Boston, fully assembled, something dropped off, I'm schlepping it up. It's, oh my God, I'm dying. You know, these Flatpacked, great name for a podcast, these Flatpacked cabinets, Swede box also Flatpacked.
Yep.
You bring it up there, you're banging it together. They're wonderful if you install them correctly. Our fronts, I put them up against anybody worldwide. They're beautiful. The quality is perfect. This is an example I love to share. Like we had an electrical fire in our shop in December. Horrible.
Crazy
Lightning
way to start the year.
I don't know what happened, but like a surge blew through the 10 shops on our block. Of course, our packing shop's the only one that caught fire. Lucky us, right? So the sprinklers go off. 80 gallons of water a second pouring down, right?
Madness. Everything's
ruined except our veneers because our finish is so perfect. Like I was so proud. We had about $30,000 worth of walnut on the floor, and I'm just pulling my hair out because, of course, the firemen are like, "You can't go in there." Of course, I'm like,
"Sure,
I just want to run in and save the wood."
Yeah.
And we opened everything up because it was already packed, and of course we put the calipers out, made sure it didn't swell. I was so proud.
Yeah.
Of what we did. So I can assure you that's, our quality is unmatched. And add that to the customization element. So you take this value proposition, you take the modular system, you take the Bloom hardware you get from IKEA, which is
The best.
I'm telling you, like in the custom cabinet world, we bought Bloom.
Yep.
Right?
Absolutely.
You can take a designer such as Jesse, who knows how to use these things, such as the people who work at Brave Element, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You can't beat this. You just can't beat this for value.
It's true.
Take that money and buy a Viking stove, you know?
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
You know, really finish with that, you know, but the cabinets, we will save you, and it will look better than you can possibly imagine.
Yes.
I mean, it's where we're at. And and I'll let you speak, Jesse. I know you want
sure.
to, but
No.
It starts coming from an installation mindset.
Yeah.
I did this,
mm-hmm.
you know, and I, like you, knee pads on, rip and toe kick. It's raining. Fingers are freezing.
Yep.
You know, just trying to get it done before it gums up with all the sawdust. Just got to get back inside. You know, all this stuff.
Sure.
The easier we can make it for you, the better the product is, the final product is for the client. And so that's the mindset we're coming from.
Yeah.
Thus the oversized panels. Thus, if you say, hey, Ivan, can you do this panel at 25 7/8 because I don't think I can cut it.
Yeah.
And I need, you know, and Jesse, you know I say this. Say yes. We say yes.
Yeah.
If we can do it, we're going to say yes.
Absolutely.
You know?
And I think that's one of the differences between us and others that are out there. Because, frankly, there are other vendors out there that you can choose from. You know, but I think what separates us is we know this stuff so well that when it comes to designing or fabrication, we can do a lot of custom aspects that will really elevate your design in your kitchen space or your bathroom space. So we always are in the mindset of saying yes, you know, and we'll try to figure it out.
For sure.
But I think that's what sets us apart.
Well,
definitely.
I think I really love the idea of coming from an installation background, right? Because that's something that I talk about a lot from our designs. And what sets us apart is when we're designing something, I consult with my designers based on how it's going to be for either me to install it, for a homeowner to do it themselves or whatever. And I think that mindset is lost listen, I buy doors from a lot of companies. There's a ton out there. Frankly, I've built enough of a name for myself that they kind of all know that I'm the shit. And I've tried them all out. Not all of them, but a lot of them. And I think that I'm so drawn to you guys because of that installation thought process. You know
That's
what I'm
great
saying?
to hear. I mean,
Yeah.
it's great to hear.
Of course, you mentioned the finish on the veneers. And one of the first things that I said to you guys when I came down and met you the first time was like, I got to meet this finisher. Like it is hands down the best finish that I've seen on veneers, aesthetically and quality wise, because everyone's trying to do like the matte thing or the whatever is popular at the time. Mm-hmm. And your guys' finish is the most consistent, the most, I think, timeless. It's beautiful. But having that background of installation, I think, helps so much of what you guys do now, and your background of IKEA. I think that's such a good combination that is really a recipe for success, I think. But I do think that background of installation is lost with so many of these companies. A lot of these guys I deal with, such lovely people, right? And I would hate for this to come off as something negative about these companies, because it's not. But just the difference is a lot of these guys are either super young or come from only an architectural background or only an IKEA design background and not having the other aspect with it. And on the other hand, there's a lot of shops that only come from a custom cabinetry background, not from installation, but only manufacturing custom cabinets, and see an opportunity of this, hey, this IKEA thing is kind of taking off. It would be stupid for us to not jump on board with it, but not having the full spectrum of experience to know how to implement it, right? And if it would kind of be really unfair if every single company had someone like me that is fully obsessed with the IKEA world with custom doors. everyone would be a lot better off, right? And again, I really have to explain that, like, I do not want this to sound negative about the other companies. There's so many people offering really cool things, but I think that it's no secret that I'm drawn to you guys. We have a really close relationship, and I shouldn't favor anybody, but I kind of do, right? Like, I think
nor should we, Wes. Nor should we.
I think so much of it has to do with, like, we speak the same freaking language.
We speak IKEA.
We speak IKEA. It's one of our taglines, yeah. Yeah. To that end, right? So we see what other people are doing in the space, and totally impressed. Yeah. And we see copycats also, and not just from what we're doing now, right? But what John and I did back then, and including, you know, what we're doing is a copycat of myself. I'm copying myself.
Yep.
And we're also trying to innovate, you know? But a rising tide rises all ships, right? Mm-hmm. So that's okay. We're creating this space. And of course, like post-pandemic, everything took a lull. But guess what? Interest rates dropped yesterday, right? Right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So IKEA's having a sale.
Yep.
Right? Not that to make this podcast timely, but anyway, you can edit and post. Anyway, but, you know, like, we can see that this could be good for everybody.
Yeah.
All Absolutely. The newcomers and us, and, like, it's okay, even for the custom people, to get on board. Sure. Because this is a really great value for the homeowner.
Well, I was going to make that point. I would say the homeowner is the one who's winning the most.
Total winner.
Right? Because not only is there this value proposition of the IKEA plus custom doors, but now there's so many options. There's so many, and realistically, all of the ships rising also means that the ships that aren't fully invested, they're going to just naturally drop off. And what the homeowners, the consumer, is left with is like, well, I've got these great companies to choose from that are all relatively the same price, that are all relatively doing the same quality, but maybe just a little bit different styling, a little different marketing,
right? Whatever,
right? And I think it's really awesome. I do think where you guys stand out so much is the Sweet Box thing. Well, the quality, we've talked about that. You know, the attention to detail, the customer service.
If I may, there's a few things I'd like to say just out loud about my company.
Sure.
And I'm going to say my company because I'm really proud of these things, right? So in Los Angeles specifically, we have an amazing showroom. And I couldn't say that a week ago, you know?
Yeah.
We got an amazing showroom in Pasadena, and you can come talk to us, right? Number one, we're local, right?
Yes.
We can deliver to your house, not on a pallet. Now, we could do nationwide on a pallet. It's not that big a deal.
Sure.
We do it all the time.
Yep.
And it's you know this.
Yes.
You collect pallets all the time. But having local delivery is really nice, and we can do that here. And it doesn't break the bank. It really doesn't. And it's worth it, right?
Oh, yeah.
The service, as you were talking about, right? We are there. If you have a problem, you're going to talk to this person who sold you the kitchen.
Yes.
You know? That's a really big deal.
Yes, it is.
And also, we try to remedy things right away, right? To that end, we make your product so we can fix your product. We're not beholden to a third party.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. I mean, the way I put it is like we're not reinventing the wheel, right? Like we're making it better based on our experience over the years of doing this. You know, his installation background, my design background, my IKEA background, and speaking with people like yourself who have so much experience in the space. Like, we're taking all of that, right? And we're just elevating every aspect of it, right? So,
But I also wanted to brag about the company.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So no one quits Modern Twig.
Sure.
Okay.
It's a pretty big deal.
Everyone gets 100% health benefits.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We do profit sharing.
I think I should work for Modern Twig.
But the reason is like that. This is my ego.
Yeah.
I quickly found I'm very much addicted to being in a place where like the work is a place. It's a place you want to be.
Yeah.
And it's not hell on earth. And it's, you know, I hate to say this, but at Semi Handmade we had, you know, cameras because we're in LA, things get stolen. And
Sure.
sometimes we'd see people like throw material after hours against the wall, and whether it's something at home or whatever, there was some rage that had to get out, and maybe it's unrelated, but we had issues, and I thought, oh, this is hard,
Yeah.
and all I could do to try to solve it was difficult, because the setup was hard, the culture was different.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not casting aspersions, is that the phrase? Yeah, thank you. I don't know. Malpropisms, I don't know. Anyway, at Modern Twig, we try to create an environment where people want to work there, where we're proud of the product we put out. And I'm super proud of what we've created so far.
Yeah.
And I feel like, I hope, and I really believe that people are invested in what we're doing. And if we can just continue this the way we're going, I really believe like you should be proud to buy from Modern Twig.
Sure.
Knowing that the people who are there are being treated not just fairly, but are loving the way they're being treated and the way the company is growing,
Yeah.
Like, anyway, like,
And
that's a weird business owner.
Let me jump in here, because like that's something that we all talk about, like internally within the shop. Working for Ivan is really, honestly, it's rare to have somebody that's a leader and we can all honestly look up to, because again, like, look at this, right? But especially like somebody like me coming from like a large company like IKEA to a small business, it's a culture shock. It really is, but experiencing like being able to talk to him when I need to, right? Or run some ideas by him. Like, everybody's so invested in this and the success of Modern Twig and Sweetbox. And I think that's good to have within our culture.
It's nice to hear that, but to be sure, I learned from a lot of mistakes I made in the last venture. I want to make that clear. I made crazy amounts of mistakes.
Sure.
To the point where, like, you especially trying to make sure drama didn't get out of control, you end up speaking out of both sides of your mouth. And that was my biggest thing.
Yeah.
So the communication's very important. Let's all talk about it.
Yeah.
That was a big deal. But I don't want to turn this into that kind of conversation. But what I'm saying is, Modern Twig, what a company.
No, I agree. And, one of the things that I really love about it, right, is there are quite a few companies that I buy from that if I have an issue, I can get on the phone and talk to the owner. That's a huge, huge deal for me, right? And I think that the same goes for clients, right? So many of the clients that we've dealt with together who will say like, oh yeah, like I had this really nice conversation with Jesse, or, the owner called me and said, that's a big deal, I think, to all of us, because I think for so many years, e-commerce has kind of taken over and everything is so faceless and just everything is done on email, which is actually really funny. This is something that I've had to learn a lot. I am a phone talker. I'll FaceTime you, dude. Like
oh no.
I do text, but like, obviously I text, but I have a really hard time with email. My operations manager, who is lovely and amazing.
She's great.
Like, I feel is annoyed with me that I want to talk on the phone so much. And all of my designers will text me, email me, and I'm like, yeah, no, I got to talk. So for me, I appreciate that kind of stuff, because I think it's so important that there is this sense of like, hey, we really care about this. We're invested, and something that I think is really rare in any business, but I mean, I have most experience with this world, is Ivan, something you should be proud of is having employees like Jesse that treat it like Modern Twig. It's like it's their own baby.
This dude's the best. He's unbelievable.
Yeah, no,
that's all I need to hear. We're done here.
No, we've talked about that quite a bit, and I mean, for the longest time, I thought you were an owner.
Oh.
Before I really got to know you, and I think that's a great sign.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that type of approach to this sort of company in this kind of messy world of IKEA, where you're kind of buying everything a la carte. You know, you're buying this from IKEA, you're buying this from Revashelf, you're buying this from Modern Twig. Having that hands-on experience where someone can feel like they can text you at 8 p.m. and not be like, you know, oh, I'm never going to hear back.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's don't text me at 8 p.m. But no, I think that's really important. You know, it's kind of like a personal. I am your personal assistant, essentially, when it comes to this project. Yeah. There's so many moving parts, and things could get lost in the fray and just, you know, fall apart. Not every project is perfect, but what we try to do is be that guiding hand from design to delivery to installation. You're going to have questions. We try to label everything. We try to provide as much information as we can for you. But things are going to come up. So having that one person in our team that you can always contact is very important.
Sure.
You know, so because you don't get that all the time, especially in this space.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, when I first started working with Modern Twig, I had this idea in my head that it was a very heavily leaning on like mid-century modern aesthetic. Am I off track there?
No.
Okay.
However, I don't know if you would consider real wood veneers exclusively mid-century modern anymore, because it seems to be modern at this point.
Sure.
And also, you know, like contemporary, traditional, modern, and mid-century modern are kind of, I mean, not from my perspective, they're blending.
Yes.
And
which I really love, by the way.
Yeah, and I don't know, it's almost indefinable presently, because in this hyper informational age, we're finding new ways to market stuff, and so we just sort of label it as we go. You know, case in point, our background here.
Yeah.
We're like, what do we call it? Okay, well, let's call it fluted. Well, it's not fluted. Okay, let's call it slatted. Slatted's good, but it's really beaded. Well, someone already uses beaded.
Yeah.
You know, like, so the answer for me is like, so yes, if you know what the mid-century modern aesthetic is, yes, of course, because we love cherry, we love walnut, we love mahogany, and we love it in sequence, and we definitely love it with white in the desert. However, it fits other definitions. You know, so we don't want to be pigeonholed, not that we are, but for sure, if you're looking for that look, you come to us.
I think the way I put it is like, you know, we cater to every different type of style, from mid-century to modern to contemporary to traditional. I think our specialty is this, right? And the way, you know, going back to kind of origin story, the way I put it is like, you know, what you started at semi-handmade, it was great. You know, it blew up, it got so big. But with growth, sometimes what happens is you start moving away from the things that you started with. And so Ivan kind of branched out, started Modern Twig to kind of take us back to the basics, take us back to these interesting materials that really make projects stand apart, right? So that's kind of where we come in. We really focus on wood veneers, but we cater to every style. You know, you can't, but we're not pigeonholed to that. So like, you can definitely use our walnut material in a traditional setting, right? But yeah, it's great stuff.
As you're building the showroom, and you know, behind you is the sample wall. When you guys are open, are you gonna be focusing more on mostly your classic products? Or are you gonna be trying to? I know you've got the outline doors now in walnut, which is freaking insane. It's so nice. The slatted board, really great. I've got some of these in my showroom. Are you going to try to push some other new products? Yeah,
we're going to continue to develop product. And as we develop them, they'll go on the sample board. But also, when we've said this before, we say yes. Yeah. So, and this is specifically to people in the trade. If there's something you want, we can do it. You know, it's not a problem. We have the wood shop and we have the expertise. And just to be clear, like all of these doors, we cut by hand.
Yeah. And
we look at imperfections in the wood, cut around imperfections. All this stuff we cut by hand. The CNC is used just for cabinetry, just to be clear.
Sure, yeah.
I just wanted to lay that out there. But, you know, we love integrated pulls. We're working on integrated pulls with a colored background. We've seen that from Reform, from Bokia. You know, it's not a new thing, but we we're working on it. We're wondering if we should just do it in DIY. We're wondering if we should do thatch patterns. We're wondering if we should do this kind of stuff. It's about what do we do as a product launch? What do we do? Should we stock a bunch of samples in that, or should we just build up our trade relationships and say we can do this?
Sure.
Sell it, and then we put it in our showroom, and we literally talk to our local clients and say, yes, we can do this for you if that's what you like. So there's sort of a website world, which is the national thing, and then now that we have a showroom, there's our local world, and then there's our trade partner.
Yeah.
So it's sort of a 3-tiered thing. But the answer is yes, we're always going to develop, but on top of that, just your ideas are, if we can do it, we want to do it.
Sure. Well, that's kind of how the slatted.
Correct. Let's talk about the origin of the slatted rift white oak.
In my showroom, I'm still building out, and interestingly enough, I had these Besta cabinets from my old previous showroom that just never got used, and I still had them in the box, and we were actually doing a return run to IKEA. We just had like tons of nicks and whatever, just like tons of little bips and bops that we needed to return. And I was just like, what a shame to have to return these cabinets that I didn't have the receipt for. So I didn't want to go through that either. But I'm like, I got to be able to use these somehow. And I'm not always an idea guy, but when I am, I think it's a good one. And I just saw this space right by the front door, and I was like, what if I put them there? And that will just speak to me. Once it's there, I'll know what doors I need there. So I did. As soon as it was done, I was like, slatted doors in oak. That's what needs to go there. And I think I immediately called you and said, hey, would you do this? Would you try this? And you were like, yeah, I think in 1.5 weeks I had them in my mailbox at home. You know what I mean? Yeah.
So we do it now we cut the sheet with CNC, and then we hand cut the doors. That one I literally just table saw, and I did it. I'm like, let me do it right now. And I just did the math and did it. I'm like, well, send these to Wes, see how he likes them. Why not? Because why not?
They're beautiful.
It's
a really, and as you mentioned, there are some companies doing the beaded or slatted or whatever. I haven't seen them in wood veneer yet until you did it.
Good.
It doesn't mean it doesn't exist, but I haven't seen it, and I think it's such a unique version of those beaded or slatted doors, and I think it takes it from what could be viewed as like almost farmhouse, if it was in white or cream or something.
We just had an influencer decide to do that for a full closet, and it was like it was great. We had a fantastic response from it, and it's from your idea, right? We did it, showed her a sample. She says yes right away.
She loved it. It actually complemented like an architectural aspect in her home. She's like, I would love to have these doors in my closet.
Yeah.
I'm like, sure, let's do it. Why not? Yep. So it's been a great response so far.
It's great. I mean, and I think having that openness to try new things and almost just listening to your clients and saying, sure, yeah, we'll try it. Not everything is going to hit, but I think that, as a matter of fact, when I posted just a quick progress shot of this, quite a few people are like, what's up with that? I want that.
I want that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that without that openness to try new things, you're kind of just leaving money on the table.
It's also less fun.
Right? Yeah.
It's less fun.
Yeah, exactly. I've actually had similar conversations from an installation standpoint where maybe sometimes a job is taking longer than it should or whatever, and I'll kind of be stressed about it, and a lot of friends will be just like, why don't you just streamline, dude? You're doing all these custom things, you're taking all this extra time, and I'm like, what's the point? I'll just go work for IKEA then. Yeah. There's no point because I'm not having fun. And sure, maybe I lost $200 on this install because I was being overly confident and thought I would do it in 5 days, but it took 6. Whatever. But the fun aspect in being creative and again, something that I love about Modern Twig so much is the owner of the company loves to cut wood.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And sing while he's cutting wood.
And sing.
My office is right next to the big track saw.
I do annoy Jesse quite a bit.
Yeah, we call it the Sokolov soundtrack. It's just, it's nice.
You have to mute your phones.
Going to be on Spotify soon.
Oh, boy. Yeah, no, I still cut jobs. I'm not the primary sawyer, but I do cut as many as I can because I love it. I love cutting jobs. And if we're backed up, I'll cut all day and, do the office work before and after. But I love getting on the saws. And it's like, would you sit in the office all day for your install business?
I hate it.
Right?
Yeah.
That's what I do. It's so it's like, yes, I have a company that makes doors, so I make doors.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's something I struggle with, right? Is like there's certain things that I have to do in the office, just like you.
Yeah.
That I've just accepted. Like no one else is going to do this the way that I am. I have to be in the office for a certain amount of hours during the week. It's usually at nighttime after getting home from an installation. But that is where I thrive, is on a job site, finding solutions to problems as they come up. And, it's just, that's what I love. And I think that we have that understanding of like, yeah, sure, we run a business, whatever.
Right.
Let's do the thing that we love doing.
That's why we run a business.
Yeah, exactly.
Not to switch gears here, but can we maybe talk a little bit about like why IKEA, right? Like why did we choose to really like, what do they say, hinge our cart to that wagon, or,
Yeah, hitch our cart to the wagon.
Or it's one of those things. I don't know.
Well, as I was talking about, like with my very quick origin story, when that came up, when we were doing custom installs, we were doing $100,000 installs, and then coming out with like a $5,000 profit, right? Mm-hmm. That's crazy because it would be so much to get to that place, right? And then you realize the homeowner's spending a fortune. The installer and the manufacturer, you're not making any money. And look at this is a fine box.
Yeah.
The hardware is excellent. You can install these and they're perfectly fine. Yeah. Not just that, but a lot of the stuff is better than what you can make in your, because Sweetbox, we sell plywood boxes, right? Mm-hmm. And yes, it's a better quality in the sense that the back, that's the biggest difference. The back is captured 1/4 inch. That's the biggest difference in terms of quality. Mm-hmm. But otherwise, plywood has movement. Yep. And it's not always consistent in material. And there will be knotty and things. And, it's beautiful, but also could be like, I wish that wasn't there. That kind of stuff. Sure. But there's some beauty to the consistency of IKEA, and the quality of the hardware is unbelievable. And so when you take that, and you take all those questions out of there, you add the lighting, you add that you can get it in one day, you add the worldwide consistency.
Mm-hmm. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, it's a no-brainer.
It's a no-brainer.
It's a no-brainer.
A large part of this is like educating the client in terms of like why IKEA, right? And I always say like there's some things obviously that you get what you pay for, right? Like a dresser or a bed, college years. That's kind of the quality of that. But the kitchens are on a completely different level. And from an installer's perspective, you could have chosen to go, the custom route. Why did you do this here?
Well, it's interesting you say that because I came from the custom world. Well, actually, my very early origins was my dad had a garage cabinet business. And this was back before even Home Depot had garage cabinets. It was like a very new thing to the point where when someone asked my dad what he did, they were like, I'm sorry, what? What's a garage cabinet? Which no one's that like dull, but you get what I'm saying. And so I'm 13 years old, literally in my dad's driveway, cutting parts with a skill saw on the ground. And then the next day we're bringing those parts to the job site and building them, right? That went on to custom closets, to super intricate woodworking, like bookcases with fluted moldings and crown moldings and all this. And I've worked for really large like high volume shops. I've worked for the super small custom shop. I've done a lot of it. And just from my own experience, you know, I kind of fell into IKEA, not accidentally, but I had told myself that I didn't want to be in cabinetry anymore. And I was trying to be a touring musician. I did it for about 10 years. And it just never, I mean, dude, my band sucked. I sucked at it. I was just like, you know, what? I was just like forcing it to happen.
And you sucked at something? Are you sure?
At a certain point, I was actually living part-time in my truck and part-time in our rehearsal studio when there weren't other bands around.
Wow.
And I'm like, what in the hell am I doing with my life, right? But I was so adamant that, like, I'm not going back to cabinetry. I just need to get out of it. But I had zero other skills. Mm-hmm. Clearly, music was not a skill of mine. And so in between tours, I'm staying at my girlfriend's house, you know, later on down the road. And I'm just on Craigslist on her computer. And I saw a job that was like, I think it was like they were looking for IKEA designers. This was a company that was based in Seattle. I was living in San Diego, and they were called Signature Services Group. Mm-hmm. And they started in Seattle, came down, and they were growing down the West Coast, right? And I thought, well, I could be a cabinet designer. I mean, I don't know how to use a computer, but I know every single thing there is to know about cabinetry. And how hard could it be? It's IKEA, you know? So I emailed and I got an interview. I interviewed with the owner of the company at the San Diego IKEA showroom where they were building the new showroom or whatever. And he was just like, yeah, this is all great. You're a cabinet installer. I need a cabinet installer. You are clearly a cabinet installer. Do you want the job or not? And I'm just like, well, I mean, I need money for the next tour, so yes. I would say within, and I, at this point, didn't even know that IKEA made kitchen cabinets. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, it wasn't on my peripheral.
Thing, yeah.
And halfway into the first day, I'm like, this is insane how awesome this is. Like, I never knew cabinetry could be so easy, combined with quality.
It's unbelievably logical. And that's
so logical.
The system blows you away.
It does. And what's funny is this is Accurum days.
Yeah. When
they switched to section, and, you know, as far as like why IKEA, the section system is just unbelievable. The engineers that went behind designing it, God bless them. The smartest people on earth, because it's intuitive. Mm-hmm. It's easy. It's quality. It makes sense. It's flexible. It's
you could call this the multiple of 5 podcast. I mean, it's unbelievable.
It is. It really is. And the thing is, on top of all of those things, they're using the best hardware in the world.
Yeah.
And they have a 25-year warranty. Nobody's doing that.
The question is, why not IKEA?
Exactly.
Yeah. Some will say, well, it's particle board. But I know you always tell me.
The most stable. It's the most stable.
It's the most stable stuff.
Absolutely.
You know?
Even MDF will give you a warp now and then, for sure. Like, and we know this because we cut DIY, and sometimes we're like, I can't cut a door out of this.
Yeah.
Do you know why people think particle board is bad?
Why?
Because their contractors don't want to sell it to them.
Probably.
Their contractors have, you know, business relationships with cabinet companies that are either selling plywood boxes, or even worse, this is what I've experienced the most, is people are making cabinet boxes using maple melamine, which is particle board, and telling their customers that it's wood. This actually happened with a friend of mine.
This is very conspiratorial, Wes.
It's very true. Here's what's great. Okay, I was actually just telling this story the other day. A person who started as a client, I'm really good friends with now, he bought a kitchen, knowing that I'm in the IKEA world. his designer was just like, sure, you can use him for installation, but don't use IKEA cabinets. They're particle board. You don't want to use that, whatever. Well, she had a relationship with a local, company called Belmont. And when I got to the installation, by that time we were already pretty good friends. And I was just like, man, I really wish you would have gone with IKEA. Like, I think you'd be so much happier. You would have saved so much money. And he's like, well, the problem is I got to have wood cabinets and IKEA's particle board. And I was like, do you know that this is particle board too? And he was like, no, look, it's maple. And I had an extra shelf. And I'm like, let me just show you. And I cut it. And I'm like, here you go. This is particle board. And it's so interesting that there's like almost like this, I don't know, this battle against particle board from people who are threatened by IKEA. And honestly, to me, that tells me we're in the right world.
Yeah, it's also, it's a strange thing because particle board is definitely the greenest of the substrates,
Yes.
And to the point where like some of the stuff like we cut, there'll be like pieces of yarn coming out of it.
Yeah,
or,
sure.
Like sometimes ceramic, and you're like, what? How did that? Like a piece of toilet bowl get in there?
Yeah.
And you would think that would be a selling point at this point, because well, let's face it, we have a lot of waste. We try to minimize it, but when we're creating this, we try to use as much recycled material as we can, right? And yet, particle board the enemy.
Yeah.
Actually, it's funny that you bring that up because Reform is, they're their own thing, they're their own entity or whatever, and they're 3 times as expensive as using the IKEA plus custom door model. And what so many people don't know is Reform uses particle board. Their cabinet box is a particle board. The doors are particle board. And rightly so, they're viewed as very high quality. They are. I mean, especially the doors. They're incredible. And the same people who will say, well, I just can't do IKEA because it's particle board, are buying the Reform cabinets, not even understanding that it's particle board. And it's a really interesting psychological block.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but we find this in like, it's not just cabinetry, but like in almost everything we are buying that's major ticket, we get a little bit of information and we hold on to that. And we think that's why I'm not going to buy, like it's a car. It has this type of engine. I can't buy that. We don't know what the hell we're talking about.
Sure. Yeah. No, it's totally true. Yeah. What's interesting, I was on a job site once where, so I had this opportunity to do a job for a friend of mine. And this is actually, funnily enough, a very heartbreaking story for me. But it has a funny ending. So this is in Portland, Oregon. And why would you guys know this? But Portland is a very big scene for music that I'm extremely interested in. There's a lot of good punk music, metal music, but this particular band that I really love is from there. One of the best bands in D-beat crust music, whatever. It's amazing.
Ska music, I don't know.
Do not. Anyways. So, because I'm not a general contractor, I just only do the cabinetry work, And so this friend of mine says, hey, I love what you're doing with IKEA cabinets. We need to remodel our kitchen. Would love for you to do the work for me. And so I said, great. Only thing is you need a general contractor as well. And he said, all good. I have this guy who happens to be the drummer of your favorite band. Wow. So I'm like so starstruck, right? Like, and it's ironic because starstruck for me is like this band that plays in front of 500 people, like not 5,000, not 50,000.
Well, yeah, he's a general contractor, so therefore
exactly right. But it's this band that I just love so much, and I'm like, I cannot believe I have this opportunity to work with this guy, So we had this meeting to talk about we already had the design going, and we had this meeting about where to put the outlets, where to put this, where to put that. And here I am just like excited to meet this guy and be like, we're going to do this job together. This is great. And this guy right in front of me in this kitchen, right when I meet him, he's like looking at the plans. He's like, we're not doing IKEA cabinets. This is horrible. And I was like just standing there and I'm like, I'm the cabinet installer, right? And he's like, yeah, IKEA, they're dog shit. They're just, you don't want to use that. And I said, well, first of all, my friends are like bringing me into this project, and just like, you're being really rude right now. Like, this is kind of like what I based my whole business off of. You could at least just save those thoughts for later. And I think he kind of realized that he was being a jerk, and he was just like, well, I'm sorry. And I'm sure you're good at what you do, but I've just seen so many IKEA cabinet jobs go wrong because they're installed incorrectly. And I was like, I'll stop you right there. You literally just made my point for me. Any job could be done poorly, no matter how good. It's not like if you spend $20,000 on one cabinet box as opposed to $80 for the same size. If it's installed wrong, it's still going to be bad. Yeah. And it's so interesting, and really some kind of like a tirade that I've been on for years is that I think so little effort is put into installation by so many people across the board, not because it's IKEA, but because that is kind of like the workforce that we have now, if that makes sense. Not people in our teams, but, across the board, I think that trades have really gone downhill. During, the 2008 market crash, when tons of people lost their jobs, lost their whatever, lost their houses, I think that so many people lost their businesses too, right? And then just kind of that last force of people, if you want to, like that era is all gone. And so many kids at that time that were my age or younger were not being brought up in the trades at the same level as when I was a kid or when you were a kid, right? Like, when I was 13, like, so many of my friends went to work with their dad and hung drywall or painted or built fences. And I think that that's really lost now. And so many of the newer generations are growing up learning how to write code and learning how to design things in Photoshop and draw, and which is great. We're just in a different world. But so much of the labor force who cared about their work is gone. Mm-hmm. And so much of the new force is just like, whatever, this is like, I'm going to blow through the, but that's not exclusive to IKEA cabinets. Although interesting to hear so often that because I've seen poorly installed IKEA cabinets, that in my mind means the cabinets themselves are not good.
These are interesting theories that you're positing.
Uh-huh.
And they're, I can't speak to whether they're true or not, but there's certainly, there's some logic behind
sure.
it. I think there's also some borrowed opinions in certain professions. Mm-hmm. Certainly in I've seen in my experience, GCs and sportscasters and chefs, they sort of like have this like, oh, soccer's a crap sport, or oh, you can't serve this with that, or you can't, there's certain like, oh, IKEA's that's college furniture. They're just sort of built in, sort of, this is my opinion for me to be legit. I need to accept this, right?
Yep.
And I think and IKEA unfortunately falls into that, and homeowners get that because it's easy, right? Mm-hmm. I'm liking your theories about this sort of. I mean, obviously, we all know that there are reverberations from the original NAFTA, and that there's all sorts of things beyond my scope, right? Sure. Of understanding the two recessions that we've seen in my adult life. I mean, when I was doing framing, kitchens and bathrooms, etc., a lot of guys had just come back from Seattle because that was the only place where people could find work.
Sure.
And then they came back to New England and they were framing again because they were like, oh, yeah, it was great there, And and then we have all the Jesse's wearing plaid. We have all these theories as like, and that spread basically woodsy white culture, grunge, to the rest of it was like there was this line between Seattle and Brooklyn, and grunge music, like sort of, so we have all these theories about like what happened at that time.
Sure.
And I love all these things, but I can't speak to anything about why that affects cabinets, but I'd love to. I don't know if this is the time or place, but what I will say is once it's done correctly, you can change their mind.
It's true.
And that's it. That's all you need to do. Just say, give me the chance. And so we try to convince first homeowners, because that's who looks at Instagram.
Yep.
That's who look. If we can get the trades to come on board, then they're our foot soldiers. Then they say, no, but trust me that you do want this. Even guys that I've known for years, they say, oh, my wife will never go with IKEA.
Oh, yeah.
And I say, what? Even now?
Totally.
And it's a battle we'll continue to fight. But if you say, okay, will they go with Reform? Right? And if you say their doors are particle board, say, well, you know what? Modern Twig's doors are actually MDF core if you get veneer. You sort of like you can play the game one way or the other. But
sure.
Yeah. I love your theories, man.
No, I've been on a lot of projects where I've gotten pictures of the job site, and I already know this installation is just going to, can we cuss on here? Like shits. You know what I mean? Like, and it's so important to have somebody that knows what they're doing install your IKEA kitchen, because that is the difference between making it look like, oh, this is IKEA, it's cheap, or gosh, I'm walking into a space, it's $1 million home, it's such a beautiful custom kitchen. Did you know it's IKEA? It's so important,
Yeah.
So,
part of it, we have to also say, there were, in the Acronym days, $3 drawer faces, and those were put in some apartments, like rentals and things, and so those were terrible. you know
what's crazy about that, right?
Yeah.
They, as in IKEA, just came out with a new line of value doors. Some of the fronts are like $4.
Yeah.
And they're good.
Are they?
Well, for what you're paying, they're outstanding.
Yeah. Well, that's great.
I actually have some of those doors in my showroom.
Wow, cool.
And I'm like, I got them because they were cheap. They didn't need to be seen by anybody. And I'm like, I cannot believe these are so inexpensive. Like, and some of the like the smallest drawer fronts, right? Like 5 by 15.
Yeah.
It was like $4 or $5. Like insane, and actually pretty decent quality. Like I wouldn't mind having it in a cheap apartment or something. You know.
Right.
And of course, they've also added more expensive items, because I think another theory is IKEA is starting to feel the hit that they're getting from custom door companies.
Absolutely, they have to.
Exactly.
So a long time ago, we were at the Javits Center. This is the semi-handmade days. John and I were there doing a show, and IKEA just launched their Copenhagen, and sort of like their higher-end real walnut furniture line.
Sure.
Stockholm, I think it was.
Stockholm.
Yeah.
Copenhagen. Oslo. I'm just going to name Northern European cities. And one of the employees came over and didn't know what to expect. And she just said, listen, we love what you're doing because you speak more to the quality of our kitchen cabinets than we ever can.
Yep.
Because she's coming from this, we're launching this beautiful furniture line that is high quality, affordable, another value proposition.
Sure.
That we need people to believe. That's why we're showing it at the Javits Center at this beautiful home show. And we love what you're doing because you're doing the same thing for us. Right?
Yep.
And that's what all of us, these aftermarket cabinet companies like Modern Twig and Cabinet Face and Bokia and all these things, that's what we're doing. We're trying to show this is really a high quality thing. We love you, IKEA.
Sure.
We really do.
We do, yeah.
And you homeowners should love IKEA, right? And yes, they're feeling the hit, and they obviously want to grab as much market share as possible.
Of course.
But 100%, we're moving cabinets for them.
Oh, absolutely.
And you know,
and how can they argue with that?
We are reaching more of a market than they could ever reach. If I can get my friends to say, "Oh, my wife would definitely go with IKEA," instead of "She would never go with IKEA."
Yeah.
And that sounds traditional and a bit sexist to do the husband-wife thing, but that's literally a quote.
Partner to partner, whatever.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
Anyway.
And if for some reason you're still not convinced on IKEA particle board, go Swede Box Plywood.
There you go.
This guy's
if for
got
some
an
reason.
There you go.
For some reason.
You know, obviously, like I said, we've talked about the warranty that comes from IKEA.
Yeah.
And obviously we'll move on to another topic, but one of the craziest things that I've ever heard about someone saying I can't go with IKEA because XYZ, right? We actually had a client who came to us first and said, I love seeing what you're doing, love the IKEA thing, love the custom door thing. I got to have you make my kitchen. And so we go through the design process. We're doing all this, right? And we get an email from the client 6 weeks later, right? And she says, hey, I've got a really big problem. My contractor said IKEA cabinets are not strong enough to hold a countertop.
Oh my God.
I knew it was bad once you started with my contractor said.
Right. And I'm just like, I'm so partly furious immediately. Like, how could anybody say that? Two, like, how could you believe that? Why are you even emailing me asking? Like, there's so many things wrong with it, but let's just go down the road of how that is wrong. First of all, have you ever walked into an IKEA showroom? They have countertops.
Not just any, it's 3cm. It's thicker stone. It's
3cm
stone.
countertop.
Yeah.
And I like have to walk these people through the process of like, they're hanging on a rail. Every cabinet has 4 legs. There's a lot of shear strength by just going across but not only do the showroom cabinets have countertops on them, IKEA sells those 3cm counters with a 25-year warranty. Do you really think this genius company, who is worldwide, beloved by all, is going to be like, listen, guys, we're going to sell these cabinets that will not hold these counters that we sell. And then to make it better, we're going to warranty it for 25 years. It's the most ridiculous thing any contractor could say. And to me, that just shows desperation. That just shows, hey, I'm feeling threatened by this tattooed face gorilla that's taking work away from me. You know what I mean? And to me, as it is frustrating, it's also like, okay, well, I'm in the right world. I'm doing something that is, you know, as you mentioned, no one here is reinventing the wheel, but we're definitely changing the trajectory of remodeling for the better. Not only are we making it more affordable, but we're offering better quality products, better design, better installation, using nice hardware. I mean, IKEA's even improved their knobs and handles and everything. But, you know, I mean, how many of our clients are buying from Lou Dolan, Schoolhouse, Rejuvenation, because they're like, well, hey, I'm going to get these nice white oak veneer fronts.
Right.
I need to dress them up with these complementary, you know, knobs.
Yeah, in a world where we want to customize everything, I mean, this is a great concept, a great model. You know? So
exactly. What else should we talk about?
The pistachio lattes from Intelligentsia.
Yeah,
great, highly recommended. Come in decaf.
Let's talk about
as well,
Intelligentsia.
in case you need it. So, yeah.
So let's kind of wrap up with, I mean, we talked about potential opening dates. We talked about things that can be expected from the showroom, what you're hoping to gain from it. But is this going to be like a hub for you to work at as an office? Is it going to be appointment only? Is it going to be walk-ins? I see a future where we're having pretty consistent events. You know, like I would love to come down here and have like a a day where we're saying, okay, here's how you assemble your IKEA cabinets, or try out a Swedebox cabinet. You know, let's watch Wes assemble it and talk about all the ins and outs. Do you see yourself really utilizing the space to its full potential, or are you going to kind of just, it'll be here and you have some appointments?
Yes, and yes. So I think it can be a great location for us for a number of reasons, most of which you mentioned. I think in terms of creating the community we want to create for not just like obviously the people who work at Modern Twig, like for Jesse and anyone in sales, and you know that it's a great place to meet clients. You know, now they come to the shop and that's cool because you can see the wood and you see the activity, and that's fun, but it's also not that safe, and frankly it's hard to find and etc. But we want to bring people like Wes, you may have heard of him, down here for and then we have events with people who need to learn more about IKEA and Modern Twig and how we can provide solutions. Prevent solutions, what a slip. Provide solutions for all sorts of projects that they might have. And basically also like Jesse needs to orchestrate this city to live underneath his thumb because he's amazing and he should be everyone's go-to for design in the kitchen space, I think. And this space allows him to do that. And you know, it's like I wanted it almost to be like we have two hanging signs up. It could be Jesse's space on this and then it could be Modern Twig on that. Because it's perfect.
It's a space where you can come. I see this space as everyone's welcome, right? Yep. If you're walking by, you had some dinner at Fishwives, you want to come by, always welcome. We also will probably have appointments. Mm-hmm. But I really want the space to also be a hub where trade members can come.
Totally.
Interior designers, architects, bring your clients. There's a reason why we designed a big island. You know, in your home, the kitchen is the hub, right? Yep. Experimentation, bring your samples, bring all your material swatches. Like, we want you to use this space as inspiration. You know, this may not be the material that you're going to go with, but let's talk about what's possible, you know? So we want this to be a place of new ideas, you know, and also just IKEA's great. It can be a box with one exit, you know, so it could be a little hard to travel through that place. So this is going to be more of an open space where you can really see yourself like making your dreams come true in terms of like your kitchen design, your bathroom design, your closets.
Totally.
Sure. I mean, I feel like a showroom, mine and yours alike, are ways that you can see the products in a more intimate space without feeling the pressure of like, I got to get out of here because there's so many people on a Saturday, or, you know, kids screaming everywhere. And by saying that, I mean, I love going to IKEA. I spend a lot of time at IKEA. But it can be very overwhelming as well. So I think it's nice for someone to be able to be like, you know, I would actually rather go to this space and talk to like one person, and there's not a line of people behind me kind of making me feel pressure to like wrap up my conversation, you know?
And you can get all your answers here. I mean, because we come from the IKEA-verse, we know the process, how to order, how things are going to get delivered, what to expect. So if you're already sold on IKEA and you just want a different perspective of what it can be, come here.
Yeah.
You know, and we'll have everything displayed. We have interior drawer lights, all the accessories, you know, so yeah, it's going to be a cool.
It's going to be great.
Cool
and
thing.
Also, I think we should highlight the service that we do provide for clients.
Yeah.
Generally, and only because it's like it's hard when you go to our website. You see like, hey, click this button, we'll start the process. Click this button, we'll start. Hey, just click the button. You know, I mean, and all websites are like that. It's sort of an action thing. But it's sometimes hard to do that. A lot, if you're like me, you just go to a website and you're just like, I just want to sort of get the picture. I just want to learn, and when I'm ready, I'll start. But when you come to the showroom and you talk to someone like Jesse, or if there's someone else like Aaron or Alex or whomever else will be here, you get the sense, here's an expert. And you're literally touching the cabinets and the material, and like, oh, this is really high quality. Yep. And this functions extremely well. And then it's like, oh, how is this going to go? Okay, well, let us help you find an installer. Let us help you find a countertop person. Let us put together your list that you're going to need for IKEA. We'll do it. We'll make your shopping list.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big deal. And we're not going to charge you for it. We're going to do it for you because you need it and without stress. Because if I say, yeah, you just go ahead and do that, and then we'll meet you at your house, that's a tough one.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
isn't it
really
mind-blowing
tough
that
one.
you can order your entire kitchen online, basically?
Yeah, you can
Yeah.
order your entire kitchen online.
So-
and
It is
and-
pretty crazy. Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, we'll populate your online cart with everything you need from IKEA. It takes the guessing game out of it. Like, once you order our fronts, it's like, all right, let's set you up for success here. You want this
Absolutely.
many drawers, you want these hidden drawers, these accessories, we'll populate everything. Once it's ready, you just log in on
Absolutely.
your own, place the order. It's great.
Yeah, we just want to look. There are multiple vendors here, so we want to try to facilitate that as much as possible, and that's why we want to also that's a homeowner's experience. With a trade person, it's like, okay, we speak your language.
Yeah.
Sure.
We come from the install background. We come from the IKEA-verse. I mean, who else do you need, right?
It's true. Yeah.
I mean, you know,
I'll tell you
we're
who
there.
else people need.
Demi.
Once Brave Element comes down to LA and offers installation
Aha.
services full time, that'd be awesome.
Yeah,
Well,
that would be awesome.
It's a venture we'll do together, of course. Well, I don't know. I've been so excited about coming down here, getting to know you guys for the last couple years, obviously hanging out with Ryan. But it's more than that. You know, I mean, I love hanging out with you guys and hanging out with your kids, having movie nights, all this stuff. But my passion is cabinetry, and I don't know. I feel very proud to be here and to be a part of what you guys are building, and it makes me feel like I'm playing a bigger role in just what we're all striving towards. You know what I mean? And I couldn't be happier doing that with a group of people that just really care about the quality the same way that I do, care about customer service the way that I do. And I think it's such a rare thing, and I think it's why kind of a big reason why we all get along so well. And I just want to thank you guys for having me.
No, thank you, Wes.
Yeah.
I mean, you should, you know, like I said, Wes is like, hey, when am I doing your show? Really, that's it. There was no choice.
Sure.
Because, and it's true, you had to do it. You had to be the guy to do the install here. And when we start doing a collaboration down here, it's going to be the dream team.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because it's about mindset, and the mindset is final product. When you walk away, is it as good as an Intelligentsia pistachio latte?
There
right?
we go.
And if it
It's a
is,
high bar,
we're
but
there.
We can meet that.
we can meet that.
Definitely meet that.
Yeah.
And so, this is sort of like so we could cut this up, right, into little clips. Like we have 10 minutes of why IKEA. We have 10 minutes of why Pasadena.
Sure,
or whatever, 5 minutes. But, I mean, it just like why the dream team is like exactly what you said, like-minded.
Mm-hmm.
It's just quality first. We've
Customer-centric.
done it long enough to know
Yeah.
if you don't have pride in this, don't we don't want to deal with you.
Sure.
We're not selling widgets here. We don't want it.
Well, I mean, I would say, so that my kind of loose company term is quality integrity above all else, right? And I think that you guys are really aligned with that. And myself, as you guys as well, like we all make mistakes. We all drill in the wrong spot, whatever. It happens to the best of us. And that's where the integrity part comes in. And I got to say, like, I've experienced that with you guys so much, where there's some door companies where you have a problem and they'll almost want to fight you on it and say, well, are you sure that you installed that door correctly? And I'm like, okay, I've been doing this for 20 years. Yes, there's one way to do it. Of course I did it right. Where if we have an issue with a door that we've got from you, and I'm sure that the homeowners experience the same thing, where they can just be like, hey, there's this issue, and you guys take it really personally and say, we're going to fix it. We're going to, how can we make this right? And I really think that that's where the dream team comes together and we shine so well. And it's funny, right? Like I've said so many times just in this episode that like I really should not be using this platform as an advertisement to be like promoting a favorite. You know what I mean? I work with a lot of companies that I just really love, and but I don't have that same connection that I do with you guys. Yeah. And
no, we feel it. Believe me, if we could have a perfect job, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Jesse's making the cart, designing it. You know, I'm cutting the wood, and you're installing it, and we're high-fiving at the end.
Yep.
I mean, it's a beautiful
Which
thing.
we actually have done. We've done a couple jobs like that, and we're about to high five on Saturday.
That's right.
You know, at the end of this.
Beautiful thing.
Anyway, well, I think unless you guys have anything else to add, we'll probably wrap it up.
No, just to thank you. Just thank you for so much. Not only what you do up in Seattle, but obviously coming down here.
Absolutely.
And having us on your podcast.
Awesome.
And just hanging out.
Yeah, man.
This guy's a great guy, man.
My kids call him Gorilla, and my daughter calls his tattoo stickers. Where's your friend with the stickers, Gorilla?
No, we appreciate everything, and you know, hopefully this is there's more to come. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's it. Thanks, Ryan. Thanks for doing all this. Thanks for hanging out with us on the Flatpacked podcast, produced by the one and only Kevin Years. Music provided by Alex Jacobelli of Sun 6 Studios. If you'd like to be on the show, or if there's a topic you'd like to hear us discuss, shoot us an email at theflatpackedpodcast@gmail.com. See you next time.